Good morning, my dear students. In the last lecture, we have discussed in detail regarding one of the detectors, that is GM counter. In this GM counter, in detail, we have discussed that by using this GM counter, how can we find the number of particles entering into the counter emitted by a radioactive source in a given interval of time. Because the basic definition of the counter or detector is that it is an instrument used for the measurement of the number of particles emitted by a radioactive source in a given time. Isn't it? Now, if it produces 10 particles in a given time, it shows as a 10. If 20 particles in a given time, 20, 100, like that, how it is counting, that in detail we have discussed. After discussion of this one, then what are the some of drawbacks of this GM counter, that also we have come across. There are two, what it is the limitations or drawbacks of this GM counter. That is, one is by using this GM counter, we cannot find the nature of the particles emitted by a radioactive source. Means the radioactive source, as you know, that it emits alpha, beta, gamma. Isn't it? Alpha positively charged, beta negative, gamma neutral, etc. By using this GM counter, we cannot identify that whether it is alpha particle, beta particle, gamma particle, like this. Isn't it? Just we can, what it is the count, how many particles are entering in it, is producing it in a given time. It may be alpha, beta, gamma, or whatever it may be. This is the one limitation. And second is, by using this GM counter, we cannot determine the energy of the emitted particle. That means whatever the particle it is emitted, there what is its energy, we cannot determine it. But by using the scintillation counter, we have discussed that you can find the energy of the emitted particle also. Isn't it? Therefore, these are the two limitations of the GM counter. Now, before going to solve some of the problems on the accelerators, one more point is left to discuss about what it is in the GM counter regarding the background counts. Isn't it? Now, let us try to understand what are the background counts, etc. Then here, those students, isn't it, who have done already the experiment in the 5th semester, there you are, what it is, finding the background counts also. Isn't it? I don't know how many of you are still remember that experiment. I hope that those students, isn't it, who are very much interested to learn something about the physics, those students might have seriously done this experiment, and in that experiment you might have observed that then after before what it is completing the experiment, lastly you are finding the background counts also, isn't it? Then I can ask the question that what are the background counts, how you can find the background counts. Since it is a online class, then some of you might be knowing, but some of you may not be what it is remembering that how is it we are finding the background counts. Let us make it clear. Then in that experiment, to find the background counts, what we are doing is we are finding the counts after removal of the source. Isn't it? That is, if you remove the source and what it is apply the voltage and start the time, isn't it? Then suppose if you fix the 50 seconds, what it is the time, then you will finding that how many number of counts you get, how many number of counts you will get in given time, that is in the experiment what you have done 50 seconds, isn't it? In 50 seconds, how many counts you will get without source also, isn't it? Now, at that time, see, even not a single student has asked that, isn't it? Sir, without keeping the source also we are getting the counts, means from where these counts we are getting, nobody has asked the question. Isn't it? Then I have watched, isn't it? Let us see, at least among these so many number of students, at least one or two students may ask the question about that. Without keeping the source also, we are getting the counts, means how it is. But nobody has asked it. Let it be, isn't it? Then this shows that how much seriousness you have got in what it is that your studies to learn subject something, isn't it? Then that is left to you, isn't it? But it is what it is. What I feel myself that then this is our responsibility to make it clear these points just for your information. Now, let us try to understand here without keeping the source, also the counter shows what it is, the counts, how it is. Okay. Usually the counter, what it will do is, in the last lecture I had draws this figure. This is your tube, is it? Below this we are putting the source here. Then this is a radioactive source. Then whatever the particles emitted by this source, they are entering into the tube. Then how many number of particles entering in a tube, those can be recorded by using this counting system. Is it? If one particle enter, is it here? It shows as a 1, 2 particles, 2, 3 particles, 3, like this. In a given time, whatever the number of particles emitted by this source, those particles enter here. Then how many particles are entering here, that will be counted by using this counting system. This is a method, isn't it? But for finding the background counts, what we are doing, is it? We are removing the source, isn't it? Remove the source. You apply the voltage also and start, isn't it? Then even without the source, also you are getting the counts, isn't it? Means from where the particles are entering, isn't it? If there is a source here, then whatever the particles which are emitted by the source, those particles enter here and they will be counted by the counting system, isn't it? But if you remove the source, means then from where, after removing the source also you are getting the counts, means from where these particles are entering. Then anybody has thought of it? Nobody has thought of it, isn't it? Let us try to understand, isn't it? Without source also you will get the counts. Listen here. I think how many of you have got this knowledge about that, the cosmic rays, isn't it? Cosmic rays. Cosmic rays means the word that cosmic rays itself explains that the cosmic rays. Then here in this, what is the cosmic rays? Cosmo means sky. Then ik means coming. I see coming. And this is a rays. That means the cosmic rays means the rays which are coming from the sky are known as a cosmic rays. Then you see, before revising this syllabus in old syllabus, for what it is the 5th and 6th semester, there was a syllabus. In the syllabus, there is a topic, small topic regarding the cosmic rays will also be there. But now that has been removed from your syllabus, isn't it? Then this, what it is the cosmic rays means, the rays which are coming from the sky are known as what it is the cosmic rays. That means here from the sky continuously the rays are what it is reaching to the surface of the earth, isn't it? They are reaching to the surface of the earth. And these cosmic rays, those are what it is such a highly energetic radiations that then they are reaching at each and every place on the surface of the earth, isn't it? Those rays, they are reaching at each and every place on the surface of the earth. Then those are what it is the radiations. And listen here, some of them are charged radiations and neutral also. Maximum are what are neutral, that means photons in the form of the photons. And you see, you will wonder that the study of the cosmic rays, it explains that, isn't it? The intensity of, see, day and night continuously they are coming from the sky and reaching to the surface of the earth. Now listen here, we will find the sun radiations in the daytime. Are you followed? But in the night, there are no what it is the radiations from the sun. But the day and night continuously the rays are coming from the sky, isn't it? And you will wonder that the intensity of the cosmic rays, is more in night than the daytime. So wonder it is, isn't it? Earlier in the syllabus, this topic was there. Then now it was what it is removed from the servers. Let it be. This is what it is just for your information. The continuously the rays are coming from the sky called as the cosmic rays, and those radiations are continuously reaching at every place on the surface of the earth. That means day and night, isn't it? Now those are in the form, maximum are in the form of the photons. Now what will happen is those photons, isn't it? They are entering into the tube here, isn't it? Those, whatever the photons are entering into the tube, then due to those photons, isn't it, are responsible to give the counts. Therefore, then even without the source also, isn't it, then you will get the counts because of what it is the cosmic rays, isn't it? That means the rays which are coming from the sky and reaching to the surface of the earth, then those, what it is the rays, they are entering into the tube, and as a result of which you are getting what it is the counts. And I think the students who have done the experiment seriously, then they might be still remembering that. They are still remembering that. Then when you put the, carefully listen here, put the source and find the counts. Is it here? But this, what it is the counting system, seriously listen here, the counting system, whatever the counts it is showing, it is not only due to the source, isn't it? But in addition to that, the counts due to the cosmic rays are also be present, because continuously the cosmic rays are what it is the coming means, then whatever the particles are entering into the tube, it is not only due to the particles emitted by the source, in addition to that, the counts due to the cosmic rays are also be there. So that what is it? In order to get the corrected counts, the last column is there. If you remember it, last column, then what you do is the number of counts first you find, is it at particular voltage. For example, at what it is the 400 volts, the number of counts is equal to 470, like this it is. And next at 450 volts, then you got number of counts is equal to 500, etc. like this one. And the background counts NB, you are repeating the 3 times, isn't it? First time, second time, third time, isn't it? Then you take the mean. Let us say mean background counts, it is equal to 20, isn't it? Therefore, the last column was what it is the corrected counts, isn't it? If you remember it, corrected counts is equal to, you write it here as this n minus of NB, because by putting the source, whatever the counts you are getting n here, then it is not only due to the source, but in addition to that, the cosmic counts due to the cosmic rays are also be there. That means whatever the counts it is showing, it is not only of the particles emitted from the source, but also the cosmic rays. Means this many number of counts are what it counts due to the particles emitted by the source plus what it is the due to the cosmic rays. What it is, sum of those two, it is this one. Then to get the actual, what it is the counts due to the particles emitted from the source, means what you have to do is you have to subtract the counts due to the cosmic rays, isn't it? Then how many counts you are getting due to the cosmic rays, you subtract them, then you will get the what it is the corrected counts, means the counts what it is due to the particles emitted due to the source only. If you want to get it, you have to subtract this background counts, isn't it? So that here what we do is the corrected counts rate n minus of what NB. Then this is the counts. These counts are what? The counts due to the source plus cosmic rays, isn't it? This one, and this is 470 minus what is the background counts? It is equal to 20. That is equal to 450. These are the actual counts. Actual counts means these are the counts due to the particles emitted by the source only, isn't it? Like that, we will calculate the corrected counts. Then we plot the graph of corrected counts against the voltage. Then you will get the graph. By using that graph, we are finding the operating voltage, the Plateau region, all those things, isn't it? Therefore, this is the what are the background counts means what? That means this counter, is it whatever the counts it is showing, it is not only due to the particles emitted by the source plus due to the what it is the cosmic rays also, isn't it? Then those counts which are due to the cosmic rays, those counts are known as the background counts, etc. Isn't it? This is a brief idea of what it is, the cosmic rays. Now, here, after discussing about this one, now let us come to what is solving some of the problems concerned to this topic, that is the accelerators, isn't it? Now, let us start solving some of the problems on the accelerator. Now, the first the problem is the problem is, I think you are able to see clearly on the board this problem. Deuteron in a cyclotron describes a circle of radius 0.32 meters just before emerging from the Ds. The frequency of applied EMF is 10 megahertz. Then find the flux density. Flux density of magnetic field. Flux density, it is nothing but it is equal to the field. That means here, instead of asking directly find the magnetic field, that same magnetic field, it is also be pronounced as flux density of magnetic field, and the velocity of the deuterons emerging out of the cyclotron. And for the calculation of this one, what is given to you? It is given that the MD means what? It is the mass of the deuteron. It is equal to this much. Now see, from this, what it is the given information, the radius of the D is given to you, and mass of the deuteron, it is given to you. Then by using this one, you can find what is the flux density of the magnetic field. Means magnetic field you have to calculate. Now, all of you seriously listen here. In solving the problems concerned to these accelerators, in particular about the cyclotron, the important useful formulas are already we have discussed that the F is equal to the frequency, it is equal to BE divided by 2 pi m. This is the frequency, this one. And the second formula which is the useful for you is mv square divided by r, it is equal to BeV. This one, that is mass of the particle which is entering into the cyclotron, then with what velocity it is moving, then radius of the circular path in which it is moving, and B is what? Applied magnetic field, charge of the electron, and velocity. Now these two. And the next is in a cyclotron, to time taken to complete semicircle, isn't it? Now suppose these are two semicircular discs, they are called as the Ds, isn't it? Then time taken to to travel the semicircle, the formula of that is here this pi m divided by BE, isn't it? This one. Now, if you remember these three formulas, isn't it? Then the problems concerned to this topic you can solve very easily. Most useful what is the formulas. Then here, then what are the given values to you? Radius of the circular Ds. Then this one. If this is a circular disc, then what is this radius of this? It is given to you. Then just before what emerging from the disc. Now the particle that is in detail in the cyclotron we have discussed that here, if the particle here, then it enters like this continuously, it moves in a circle of greater and greater radius. When the particle attains the maximum energy, it reaches to the edges of the D and then it will come out, isn't it? Now, just before coming out of the Ds or out of the cyclotron, the radius of the circular path in which it is moving, it is equal to the radius of the D, isn't it? This one. Now that is given to you here. What is in a circular of radius 0.32, isn't it? Just before emerging from the D's. Next, what is given here? The frequency of applied EMF, isn't it? Is equal to how much it is? 10 megahertz. This is given. Then you have to calculate flux density of magnetic field, means what? Magnetic field B you have to calculate, and for the calculation of this one. Now, since the particle which is used here, it is a deuteron, hence the mass of the deuteron, it is given to you. Then here, by using these values, then you have to calculate what is the flux density of magnetic field, means you have to calculate magnetic field value, and then with what velocity it will come out from the what is a cyclotron. Then these two values you have to calculate. Now, let us see here first. Given values are given. Radius R, it is equal to 0.32 meters. Next, frequency of applied AC, it is equal to 10 megahertz. Mega means you know that 10 to the power of 6 hertz. Then mass of the deuteron, it is also be given to you. How much it is? 3.32 into 10 raised to minus 27 kg. Then by using these three values, you have to calculate the magnetic field, applied magnetic field, and the velocity with which it will come out from the cyclotron. Now, since the frequency it is given to you, then as you know that the formula of the frequency, it is equal to BE divided by 2 pi m. Now, this is given to you, and mass it is given to you. E means what? It is the charge of the deuteron, and charge of the deuteron is well familiar to you, and that value is also be known to you. Therefore, then you know all the values except this magnetic field B. Therefore, you can calculate very easily. Then here, this B, it is equal to what you get it here, this 2 pi m F divided by E. Now, this is equal to, this is 2 into 3.142, and the mass, since you have used the deuteron and its mass, it is given to you. How much it is? 3.32 into 10 raised to minus 27 divided this into the frequency. How much it is? Like it is given that 10 into 10 to the power of 6 means totally you will get it here 10 raised to 7 into 10 to the power of 7 divided by a deuteron. What is the charge of the deuteron? Listen here. In some cases, what will happen is the values which are well known to you, such values, is it, will not be given, is it, in the, what it is the question paper, is it, in the question, because they are very, what the well known, what it is the factors which must be known to you, is it? Deuteron means atomic number is, how much it is? 1. That means 1 proton is present. Then charge is equal to charge of 1 proton, and charge of 1 proton, charge of the proton and electron, one and the same. Therefore, the charge of the deuteron, it is equal to the charge due to the 1 proton or equal to the charge of the electron. Then what is the value of the charge of the electron? It is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. This is. Now remember that you being the final year students, is it, the sum of the very simple, what is the values which are, what it is the most useful for you, such values may be given or may not be given also. If it is not given, then you must remember it. Like, listen here, the charge of the electron, mass of the electron, then charge of the proton, and charge, mass of the proton also. Then these are the commonly used values. Therefore, you should remember these, what are the values. It will be given to you in the examination, if it is, even though if it is not given, but you should remember these values. Now here, this is equal to, now when you, this is equal to multiply it, then you will get it here 4, 8, 2, 6. Then 6 point this one into 3.32 into this, you will get it here minus 27 plus 7 is minus 20 divided by this 1.6 into 10 raised to minus, what it is, a 19. Now what you do is this is equal to then 6.284 into 3.32 divided by 1.6. Now what you do is this minus 19 you take to the numerator, it will be plus 19. Plus 19 minus 20 means you will get it here 10 raised to minus 1. Isn't it? Then you simplify this one and you calculate 10 raised to minus 1 means you can write divided by 10 also. Then you calculate it, then whatever the value you get it here, that is the applied magnetic field. Its unit is Tesla. Isn't it? Now you can calculate what is the applied magnetic field. The next one more quantity you have to calculate what means the velocity of the deuteron, isn't it, before emerging out of the cyclotron, isn't it? Now, how can you find this, what is the velocity means? Then here, this, I will just erase this one. Now, yes, you know that, yes, I have asked you to remember this formula, mv square divided by r, it is equal to BeV. Now, this will get cancelled. Then, from this equation, the velocity, it is equal to, what you get it here, this is BER divided by, it is m, isn't it? You take it here and this you bring here, you will get what is the velocity. Now, this is equal to, then already you have calculated the value of B here, then whatever the value of B you get, then that you substitute here, and the charge, it is also be given to you, isn't it? Or you should remember it, that is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19, and radius it is given to you 0.32 divided by mass of the deuteron, it is given to you 3.32 into 10 raised to minus 27, isn't it? Then what it is, whatever the value of B you will get, that value of B you substitute here, simplify, then you get what is the value of velocity of the deuteron before emerging from the cyclotron. That you can calculate very easily, and it's compulsory you have to put it, its unit, that is meters per second. Now see, in this way you can, what it is, solve this problem, isn't it, in this way, isn't it? Now let us go to the next problem. My dear students, after completion of the first problem, now come to the second problem. Here, it is given that cyclotron in which flux density means magnetic field is 1.4 Webers per meter square. Webers per meter square, it is also be unit of the magnetic field. See, one more unit is what it is, a Tesla, or it can also be written as Webers per meter square employed to accelerate protons. Means here the particle which is accelerated or what is the protons. Then this is the point to be understand how rapidly, isn't it? How rapidly should the electric field between these be reversed? Isn't it? What does it mean? How rapidly should the electric field between these be reversed? This here, how rapidly is nothing but in how much time, isn't it? In how much time the electric field between the two Ds is what it is reversed. Now see, in the theory in detail we have discussed that suppose this is the one D and this is the another one. and these two Ds are connected to a high frequency oscillator, isn't it? Then at any instant of time, if this D is positive and this is negative, then after a regular interval of half of the periodic time, the polarities will be reversed, isn't it? Then that, what is the time, isn't it, or in how much time the electric field between the two Ds is, what is the reversal, that is you have to calculate it, isn't it? Now, or in how much time the field between the two Ds is, what it is the reversed, that time you have to calculate. Now see, for the calculation of this, then it is given mass of the proton is given to you, and next is the this applied magnetic field, it is also be given to you. Now here given values are given. What are the given to you? Applied magnetic field B, it is equal to 1.4 Webers per meter square, and mass of the proton, it is 1.67 into 10 raised to minus 27 kg. Then you have to calculate time taken by the particle, is it, or in how much time the polarities between the two Ds is reversed. Then in the discussion of the theory of the cyclotron, we have discussed that this time t, it is equal to pi m divided by Be time, isn't it? And this time it is equal to the half of the period of AC, t by 2 we take it. Now let us calculate this one. Then here this value, it is equal to pi 3.142. Then mass, it is given to you 1.67 into 10 raised to minus 27 divided by the applied magnetic field is 1.4, and next since it is a proton, yes, already I have suggested that you should remember the value of the charge of the proton, which is equal to the charge of the electron. How much it is? 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. Now this is equal to 3.142 into 1.67 divided by 1.4 into 1.6. Now this value you take to the numerator, it will be plus 19. Then 19 more 27, how much it will be? This is equal to 8, you get it here. This is 10 to the power of minus 8, you get it. Then what it is, you simplify this one, then you will get the time. Then it is based in terms of what it is, the seconds, so many seconds. That means it shows that whatever the value of time you get, then within that time, the polarities between the two Ds is what it is a reversed, isn't it? Therefore, this is the way how we can what is the calculating. My dear students, after solving the two problems, now let us come to one more problem, the third problem. Then here, carefully you see here, a cyclotron accelerates the proton to 3 million electron volts. That means the proton is accelerated to this much amount of energy. Now he is asking that to what energy will the cyclotron accelerates to alpha particle and deuteron. Isn't it? That means if the proton is accelerated to 3 million electron volts, then by using the same cyclotron, then to what energy the alpha particle and deuteron can be accelerated, that you have to calculate. Now see, for the calculation of this one, the mass of the alpha particle, deuteron and proton, this is given to you. Now you must think that what are the given values to you? First, to what energy proton is accelerated, that is given, and then to what energy the alpha particle and deuteron to be accelerated, that you have to calculate, isn't it? Now see, for the calculation of this one, then mass of the alpha particle, deuteron and proton is given to you. Then to solve this one, how to solve it, you should get an idea. Then that is for the calculation of this one, what is given, masses are given to you. That means then you have to calculate the energy, isn't it? And the second thing is that the alpha particle, proton, deuteron, isn't it? Then by knowing their masses, isn't it, how to find the energy means you must think of that what is the relation between energy and mass, isn't it? In what it is a cyclotron, that you must think of it, isn't it? Now let us see here. First, we have, you know that in the derivation we have calculated that the energy acquired by the charged particle, or to what energy a charged particle is accelerated, that energy can be calculated by, isn't it, this equation. And the next is the frequency F is equal to is what? BE divided by 2 pi what it is the M. Now what you do is substitute F is equal to this much in this equation. Therefore, what you get it here, energy E, it is equal to this 2 pi square as it is. Instead of F, you write this much, this BE divided by 2 pi M, and square is there, then M, and you write R square as it is. Isn't it? Then this is equal to here 2 pi square, and when you square this one, what you get? B square E square divided by, next is it is a 4 pi square M square into M R square is there. Now what you do is sum of the factors will get cancelled. Then pi square this is what it is 2 times, and next M 1M will get cancelled. Now what we left it here? Then this is equal to, you can see that B square E square. B square E square and divided by 2 is there, next 1M is there, and R square. Then this is the energy, isn't it? Now here for a given cyclotron, then which values are what it is a constant, that carefully you see here. Now see, for a given cyclotron, how much, whatever the amount of magnetic field is applied for a given cyclotron, that is fixed, constant. And in a cyclotron, the radius of the D's, is it 8? That is also be a constant. And 2, it is a constant. Therefore, this is constant, is it 8? Then this is 2 is already a constant for a given what it is a cyclotron, is it? Because in a given cyclotron, whatever the amount of magnetic field you have applied, that is the same, and the radius of the D's of the cyclotron, that is also be a constant. Now, when you take out the constant factors, then remaining is what? Here, this and this. These two are variable. Therefore, when you take out the constant, you will get proportionality. This, therefore, you will get it here as E square divided by M. Now, you here apply for the proton, alpha particle and deuteron, this formula. Now this is a general formula of energy, is it directly proportional to E is what? It is a charge and mass. Now if you take energy of proton, directly proportional to charge of the proton divided by mass of the proton, correct? Next, for alpha particle, when you take it, proportional to charge of the alpha particle square divided by mass of the alpha particle, right? Next is here, when you write it for deuteron, proportional to charge of deuteron square divided by mass of what it is a deuteron. Now here, this is, let us represent this equation number 1, and this is 2, and this is what it is a 3. Now from what it is a 1 and 2, from 1 and 2, you can see that EP, energy of proton divided by energy of alpha particle, this is equal to, when you divide what it is these two, then what you get it here is, this is EP square divided by MP, and when you divide it, what will happen is into M alpha divided by then the charge of alpha, this one, and this is equal to then this I will write as it is, charge of proton square divided by mass of proton into Now all of you listen here. You being the final year students, isn't it? And moreover, in chemistry, in physics, you in detail, you have studied the complete, what it is, the periodic table, etc. On the basis of that, the proton and alpha particle. Then alpha particle is what? Alpha particle is a helium nucleus. Now see, regarding this one, during the discussion of the alpha decay in the previous classes we have discussed in the properties of the alpha rays in detail. You have studied that alpha particle is an helium nucleus, isn't it? Helium nucleus means what? Helium nucleus has what it is, 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Are you followed? Therefore, helium nucleus consists of what it is, 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Therefore, charge of the helium, it is equal to, since 2 protons are present in it, therefore charge of the helium is equal to charge due to the 2 protons, isn't it? And it is what it is, 2 protons and 2 neutrons are there, means totally how many it is now? 4. Then when you consider it as mass of the neutron is approximately equal to mass of the proton, isn't it? That is, mass of the neutron is approximately equal to mass of the proton. Therefore, helium is what? It is as good as it has the 2 protons and 2 neutrons, means totally 4, isn't it? Therefore, mass of the alpha particle is approximately equal to equal to the 4 times mass of the proton. Therefore, that here to what it is make. Then here, instead of this mass of the alpha particle, I can write it as the 4 times mass of the proton. Then charge of the alpha particle is equal to, alpha particle means it has got the 2 protons, hence charge of the alpha particle is equal to 2 times the charge of the proton. Therefore, this I can write it here as 2 into EP square is there that time. Isn't it? Now, what you do is here, this is equal to, now this is EP square divided by MP into 4 MP divided by, when you square this one, you will get 4 times of what it is, EP square. Isn't it? Now, what will happen is here, this 4 and this 4 will get cancelled, isn't it? Then this and this will get cancelled, and this and this will get cancelled. That means totally it is equal to how much you get it here? It is 1. Therefore, EP divided by E alpha is equal to 1. It is nothing but when you cross multiply here, E alpha is equal to EP. Isn't it? That means if the proton is accelerated to 3 million electron volts, then alpha particle is also be accelerated to the same energy. That is what. Therefore, here in this, you can what it is, write it as from this one, this EP or E alpha, it is equal to EP. Then it is given that to what energy the proton is accelerated, means 3 million electron volts. Isn't it? Therefore, this is the alpha particle is accelerated to this much amount of energy. Now, by using the same, what is the relation 1 and 3, isn't it? Here, then you can calculate to what energy the neutron is accelerated. This is the way how we can calculate the energy of the alpha particle. Now, in the same manner, by using the relation 1 and 3, you can calculate the energy of the neutron. Now, let us see here from equations 1 and 3. From equations 1 and 3, from 1 and 3, here EP divided by ED, that means the energy of proton divided by this one, it is equal to, then you get it here EP square divided by MP, and divided by this means now you get it here as D divided by ED square. Now this is equal to, again, a neutron, it is of this type, then proton is this one, correct? That is proton. It has what? It is the one proton only. Hydrogen, proton, it has this much. Deuteron means what? This one, isn't it? Means then it atomic number, it 1 means one proton is there, and mass number is 2 means what? It is one proton and one neutron, one neutron, isn't it? Therefore, in the charge of the deuteron is same as the charge of the proton, because even in deuteron also one proton is there, but mass number of the deuteron is 2, means what? It has got one proton plus one neutron. Therefore, here we can write this as this is equal to EP square divided by MP. This you write as it is. Then mass of the deuteron, it is equal to what? It has got one proton plus neutron, means almost it is what? 2, because the mass of the neutron approximately equal to mass of the proton, means it is as good as 2 times mass of the proton divided by, then it is having what? It is a one proton only. Deuteron is also having one proton. Therefore, charge of the deuteron is equal to charge of the proton. This. Now, what will happen is this and this will get cancelled. Now, this and this will get cancelled. Therefore, now when you, what it is, this is the value of EP divided by ED. Now, by using this equation, shall directly ED, charge of the deuteron, it is equal to this, you take it here, this you bring, then this is EP divided by 2. Now this is equal to here EP, that is the charge, energy to which the proton is accelerated, it is given as what? It is a 3 divided by 2, it is nothing but 1.5 million electron volt. Therefore, to this much amount of energy, the deuteron can be accelerated. Now, this way you can solve this problem connected to. In this one, you have observed that then you are having a relation between the energy and charge and mass of the particle. This is also one of the a useful formula. Isn't it? Now with this, now these are some of the problems concerned to the accelerators in the examination. Then when you look at the question papers, then you will find that every year, then there is a one problem, is it concerned to this, what is the topic. Then yes, already I have mentioned that in a very, very simple way, you can solve the problems very easy way. Then in this case, the only 3 important formulas are there. Whatever the important formulas are required to solve this problem, already I have written on the board. Then if you remember those formulas, then very easily the problems concerned to this you can solve in the examination. I hope, isn't it? With this, then this, what it is a topic concerned to the accelerators, it is what it is a completed. Now I will stop here. Thank you very much.